I want to talk about this Revolver magazine expose about January 6th. The issue is whether the FBI, the deep state, orchestrated January 6th. In other words, think of the implications. It wasn't Trump who incited the insurgency. It was the FBI itself. They were working hand in hand inside these organizations like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters. Now, I had Darren Beatty, the founder of Revolver News, on my podcast yesterday, and he laid out the case, and the case is basically twofold. You've got all these people, some of whom were the most violent on January 6th, and yet they have not been charged. They are unindicted co-conspirators, and presumably they're there to testify against others. But normally you get the guy who did nothing, who was just standing around to testify against the guys who were violent. But here some of the most violent people are not being charged. Very suspicious. So the question becomes, were they FBI agents or informants? And you have to find out just by finding out, by asking, by demanding to know, by asking Merrick Garland. And if it turns out he lied, very well, then we have to send him to jail. Now, the other issue is that the FBI did this before. That is the key. In the so-called Governor Whitmer kidnapping plot, out of the 14 people charged, no less than five of the people involved were FBI agents or operatives or informants. They were set-up people, and they were actively pushing this. They were driving the van and booking the hotel rooms, and one guy was even supposed, I believe, to bring the explosives. So you get the sense that what the FBI is doing is entrapping these people. Hey, let's just go kidnap Whitmer. And then people go, yeah, let's do it. Okay. And then later these same FBI guys testify against them. So we want to know, the big question, was January 6th like that? Now, it's really comical to see the quality of the critique of the Revolver article. I mean, of course, the people at CNN can be counted on to demonstrate their room temperature IQs. These people are, to quote Trump, dumber than a rock. But even CNN, in one of its so-called fact checks, its laughable fact checks, admits that the FBI routinely does penetrate these kinds of militia groups and so-called extreme groups. So it would hardly be surprising if the FBI had people on the inside, you may say, of these operations. And then the Bulwark, the sort of Never Trump publication, basically goes so far as to say, so what? So what if the FBI instigated this? So you sort of have this moving argument. No, they didn't do it. They had nothing to do with it. Well, maybe they were involved in some way too. So what if they did it? Wow. Now, Andy McCarthy, whom I respect, writing in National Review, takes the view that, wait a minute, if an FBI has an informant or they have an inside man, that man is not technically a co-conspirator. That guy, a co-conspirator, is somebody who's part of the conspiracy, and you may decide not to charge him. But if it's an FBI guy, you're not going to label him as that. And of course, CNN goes on to point out that the FBI manual draws an important distinction between FBI operatives and co-conspirators, unindicted co-conspirators. But wait a minute. Before we start making these Jesuitical distinctions about what the FBI manual says, let's remember that the FBI has shown itself quite willing to skirt procedures, to go around the rules, to ignore, think about the FISA documents. They were willing to misrepresent the documents, leave out stuff in the documents that the judge needed to see. In one case, alter the documents deliberately in order to get the FISA warrant. So these people are essentially not above deceit. They're not above planting evidence. In my own case, I can tell you that the FBI, they do not follow procedure. No. When they're doing a political hit, they do a political hit because they feel, and I believe so far it's been true, they're protected from the top. Bottom line. We need accountability. We need answers. You can go ahead and call it a conspiracy theory if you want that Revolver is putting out. But if you find out it's true, then the conspiracy theory becomes a plain old conspiracy.